Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. Today is Iowa Caucuses Day, February 3rd, 2020. I almost said 2016. Wow, talk about PTSD from the last election cycle. But it is 2020, baby. And here is the day that so many of us have been waiting for a very long time. It looks as though Bernie Sanders still maintains a commanding lead. I'm sorry, it doesn't look as though. It is the fact that Bernie Sanders maintains a lead in Iowa. And it's shaping up to be a very, very exciting night. There are other polls that are coming out showing that Biden is losing his lead. His lead is shrinking in South Carolina. He's down to 5 points ahead of Bernie Sanders. We're going to drop an ad coming out soon, a video, not so much an ad, of Black Bernie supporters, and we're going to strike right at the heart of that. And so, you know, in an ideal world, our little ad would have some effect. But the fact of the matter is that Biden's firewall is not impenetrable. And that is a good thing. So also in New Hampshire, Bernie Sanders is up an additional 6 points. The lead in New Hampshire is commanding. Biden has flatlined. He hasn't moved. Buttigieg is down 5 points and Warren is down 2 points in New Hampshire. We'll go over a little bit in terms of what's going to happen tonight or the possibilities of what could happen tonight. But it's more straightforward in New Hampshire with this lead that Sanders has. It's looking good. And, just give you a quick breakdown. Sanders is at 29 points in New Hampshire. Biden is at 14. Buttigieg is at 13. Warren is at 12. Warren has not recovered. I just want to say Warren has not recovered from that fiasco where no one believed it. No one believed that Bernie Sanders ever said that a woman could not win the presidency. And I hope whoever came up with that strategy will no longer be able to work again. I mean, honestly, that was the turning point for me. And if we'll go over all of the happenings over the weekend with Rashida Tlaib, and we'll go over that later on in the show, or I might be so I might just put it in the patron show. But anyway, no, I don't know. But the point is that was the turning point for me when we saw Elizabeth Warren, when we saw her take this unnecessarily and clearly, transparently bogus route of trying to accuse Bernie Sanders of sexism. And they try to capitalize on this narrative that has been intricately woven over the last 5 years now of laying sexism and racism at the feet of Bernie Sanders. The Warren team and whoever the advisors were tried to convince America that Bernie Sanders said something that was so unbelievable that not even MSNBC could believe it. And you know, MSNBC believes just about anything they can forward about Bernie Sanders, right? And that was a turning point for me. I'll get to Iowa in a second, but it was a turning point for me because up until that point, I sat on the fence. I sat on the fence because I wanted to be conciliatory. I felt that it's necessary to have at least one or two voices out here who was saying basically kumbaya, kumbaya. Let's not destroy each other. But when I saw that level of treachery, it was I just could not sit on the sideline anymore. And then as soon as I realized that I couldn't sit on the sideline anymore, I realized I shouldn't have been on the sideline in the beginning, because people have been grandstanding and doing everything they possibly could to destroy Bernie Sanders. And most of it has been nothing but pure bullshit. And because my specialty is cutting through the bullshit, my services have been needed. And so my apologies for taking so long, but here we are. And coming full circle to the polls, it looks as though I'm not the only one who was convinced that what Warren did was bullshit, because she's like solidly in fourth place in several races. Almost to the point of tonight, there's questions of whether or not she's going to hit the threshold of viability in Iowa. And here comes full circle the game tonight. This is what's uniquely different about the Iowa caucuses versus any other normal voting primary. And yes, I do refer to everything else as normal because I've never seen, outside of Iowa, I've never really seen the madness that's getting ready to go on tonight, because there's a possibility that Bernie Sanders, with this commanding lead, will come out of the first round as the winner. But because he'll get the a plurality of votes of caucus goers. But as the people who fall beneath the 15% threshold, the candidates who fall beneath the 15% threshold, as their caucusers are released, meaning they have the option to either go home, because if your candidate, let's say Warren and Buttigieg might cross that threshold. He's tinkering. Klobuchar, Yang, and Tulsi, as they don't cross the 15% threshold, the question is, are they going home? We're talking about literal people who will show up in Iowa tonight at 7. The doors are closed and locked, so make sure you're there. If your candidate in the first round does not get 15%, then you are released and you can either go home or you can go and caucus with someone else. And with Bernie Sanders being in the lead, it's pretty foregone conclusion, save some type of disaster, that he is going to win that first round. The question of the second round almost becomes a question of rank choice voting. I think I said it correctly. It's early in the morning. Who is your second pick? Well, here's the interesting thing. For Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, according to the latest polling, gets about 1/3 of Elizabeth Warren's delegates. So if Elizabeth Warren does not cross the threshold of 15%, it bodes better for Bernie Sanders, because unless people are swayed in the moment to do something that they aren't telling the pollsters, and pause, I just want to kind of describe this a little bit better. It's like, it's really energetic. There's people yelling and laughing and screaming and trying to convince you and persuade you. So what someone said to a pollster yesterday could be the exact opposite of what they would do tonight. But according to the polling, the second choice for Elizabeth Warren voters is Bernie Sanders. For 1/3 of Elizabeth Warren's voters is Bernie Sanders. So it almost bodes well best for Bernie Sanders if Elizabeth Warren doesn't cross the 15% threshold, but beat Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar, for them to make sure that they cross the 15% threshold, because their voters hate Bernie Sanders. So it's a possibility. The worst case scenario is that Bernie would win the first round, but Warren also wins, crosses the 15% threshold. And then you have Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg who don't. And then all of their supporters go to Biden. And it could be that Bernie Sanders wins the first round and Biden wins the second round. Now I'm going to intercede and pray and rebuke that in the name of Jesus. But it's a possibility. And so now the next question is, where would the caucusers for Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard, where would they go? Because they're not going to cross. And this is no slight to you guys. You guys ran a fabulous race, right? You did everything that you possibly could, but it doesn't look like you're going to hit the 15% threshold. So the real question is, where will they go tonight? So if you know anyone, and this is almost why I wanted to be as conciliatory as I possibly could, because I wanted it to be an easy transition for those people on the ground in Iowa for any caucus for that matter. I mean, any primary for that matter, to be able to go from Warren over to Sanders. Now, what I have to count on is that those people who are literally on the ground are outside of this Twitter ecosystem, right? This social media phenomenon. And that's usually the case. The people who are organizing on the ground, they don't have time to do things on Twitter, nor do they have time to listen to my podcast. Well, some of them do. But the point is that hopefully there's enough. Hopefully the people, that 1/3 of voters who are voting for Elizabeth Warren in the first round, but will more than likely go with Bernie Sanders in the second round tonight. And if I get you, listen, if I've gotten some of the terminology wrong, you can just forgive me. Don't even comment in the comment section, because like I said, what goes on in Iowa is just weird. Okay. It's weird from my perspective, right? It's totally normal to them, and I don't get to determine what's normal for them. But for me, I'm surprised that I could even discuss it intelligently. Okay. So if some of my terminology is wrong in Iowa, charge it to the fact that y'all are just weird over there. No. Okay. All right. Let me get back to the point. The point is that I hope that there's enough love that has been sown between the camps there on the ground in Iowa, because that's what matters, right? Real, actual relationships matter. And I know if there's any strategery to be had that Team Sanders has been courting. I mean, while us on the internet, while we have been warring, I believe that the wisdom in the camp there has been to court and to be kind to all of the people that you need to come with you in the second round. I also believe that there's enough stratagem. I'm just being silly this morning, folks. Strategery that a couple of Bernie Sanders caucus goers would step over the line and make sure that Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar both get 15%. Yeah. So if we can shave off just enough from Bernie to put into the lane for Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar without giving Joe Biden the win, then that would lock up Klobuchar and Pete's caucus members, and they won't go and flock to Joe Biden. Now, this is not any kind of radical or revolutionary or revelatory strategy. I'm pretty sure for caucus goers, that's the most basic, strategy, but it's going to have to be employed tonight to make sure that there are no shenanigans that would take away the first round victory from Bernie Sanders and give it to Joe Biden. Yeah. So that's that. All right. That's round one for today's episode. Let's get ready for a patron party. And when we come back, there's so many more news stories to cover, including what happened over the weekend with Rashida Tlaib. We'll be back right after this.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Here we go. All right. Very special welcome and thank you to H.J. Jones. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Very special thank you to April. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. And very special thank you and welcome to Rashida Taylor. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Rashida, I feel like I know you outside of the show. I don't know, maybe on Twitter. Very special thank you to Andrew for becoming a patron. Thank you to Stephen Coates for becoming a patron. Thank you to Stuart Matthews. Thank you for becoming a patron. I really appreciate it. And thank you to Shade. I don't know why I want to call you Sade, but I know it's Shade for increasing your pledge just this morning. You too can become a part of this prestigious and prodigious patron family by going to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and be sure to drop me, drop me a video of you bopping to the patron party. I always love seeing that. That's a thing. I think we should make that a thing, a patron party challenge.
If you guys remember last week when someone by the name of Hillary Clinton said that we're not going to boo. We're classy here. We're classy.
I'll boo. Boo. You all know I can't be quiet. No, we're going to boo. That's all right. The haters will shut up on Monday when we win.
And it is Monday. The day for the victory for not me, us. Rashida Tlaib at the rally in Iowa on Friday or late Friday. Yes, late Friday. And everybody has subsequently lost their minds. Everyone has. So many people had a meltdown over this. And the context of it is that she was booing Hillary Clinton for the things that Hillary Clinton has so divisively inserted herself into this primary with. And for the purposes of promoting her documentary on Hulu, she has put the entire country at risk by dividing and attacking the front runner. For all intents and purposes, Bernie Sanders is the front runner, especially as he's just edged out Joe Biden on the national polling. And now everyone is telling Rashida Tlaib that she's so disrespectful. Listen to this follow-up from CNN.
To see something like that that's going on within our own party, I find it to be disrespectful. Certainly Hillary Clinton was a pioneer for women running for office and for standing up for our democratic values that are important for this country. I don't think that that kind of behavior is something that Iowans like to see. And I certainly know that Iowans believe in the term Iowa nice. We want to support our neighbors. We want to be on a good relationship with them, even though we might not agree with them while we're sitting in the room, and it can be very contentious. That type of behavior doesn't go over well in Iowa.
Yeah, that type of behavior doesn't go well over in Iowa. You know what else shouldn't go over well in Iowa? An outside agitator by the name of Hillary Clinton interjecting herself into the most critical primaries of our lifetime just to promote some damn documentary on Hulu, right? So all of the response, see, this is what I talk about, those asymmetrical fights. They will strip away all of the nuance and context, because this doesn't even need nuance. All it needs is context. Why was Rashida Tlaib booing Hillary Clinton? It's because Hillary Clinton has inserted herself into the primaries 3 times to attack Bernie Sanders with no discernible end other than her own self-aggrandizement. In other words, there's no reason for her to do it because Bernie Sanders supported her. Bernie Sanders gave her a full-throated endorsement. Bernie Sanders went on the campaign trail for her and campaigned more for her than she did Barack Obama. So she literally has zero. She's not, at this point, I don't give a good goddamn what you think about Hillary Clinton, because she has proven herself to be a self-absorbed, egomaniacal narcissist who's willing to risk Donald Trump having a second term just for her own self-aggrandizement. That's who Hillary Clinton is. That's what she's done. And that's what Rashida Tlaib was booing. And that's exactly why she should be booed every time she inserts herself. And to be quite honest with you, I actually don't have anything against Hillary Clinton. I don't. I actually think that she's a brilliant politician. I think that she would have been light years better than Donald Trump. No comparison. However, she is proving herself to be the bane of America's existence by trying to sandbag Bernie Sanders by saying nobody likes him, that he's a fraud, that he's a career politician that never got anything done, that he didn't support her when he supported her ass more than she supported Barack Obama. When more of Bernie Sanders supporters voted for her than her supporters voted for Barack Obama. When a smaller percentage of Bernie Sanders supporters left and went to Donald Trump than the supporters of Hillary Clinton. Remember, what were they called? Pumas? Let me remind you just how furious Hillary Clinton supporters were when she did not get the nomination in 2008.
Where are you from?
New York City, Hillary State, the best nominee that's possible. And the Democrats are throwing the election away. For what? An inadequate black male who would not have been running had it not been a white woman that was running for president. And I'm not going to shut my mouth anymore. I can be called white, but you can't be called black. That's not my America. It's equality for all of us. And it's about time we all stood up for it. I'm no second-class citizen.
I'm no second-class citizen. That's Harriet Christian, May 31st, 2008. Furious. And she wasn't by herself. You had other Pumas who were less intoxicated at the moment, who expressed, now I've got plenty of clips, but I'm not going to go through all of them right now in the show. I want to hear my voice, not theirs. But I mean, clip after clip after clip of Hillary Clinton supporters who had the most vicious rhetoric towards Barack Obama. And beyond the rhetoric, about 25% of them didn't even vote for Barack Obama. And so this idea that this divisiveness is something new in the primary process is conveniently being woven. It's the narrative is being woven simply as a means of concern trolling and attacking Bernie Sanders through their concern trolling, when they know good and damn well they behaved in ways far worse than Bernie supporters ever behaved. They know it. And what's more, there is a legitimate reason to boo Hillary Clinton, because she is putting this country at risk for her book sales, for her book tour, for some documentary on Hulu. Our best chance to beat Donald Trump is Bernard Sanders. He is the best chance for us to beat Donald Trump, and Hillary Clinton is putting that at risk by inserting herself for her own self-promotion. I'm sorry, that is a legitimate reason to boo her. The person who should be chastised in this conversation is Hillary Clinton, not Rashida Tlaib. And Rashida Tlaib being, she's an elected official now. She came out with not a full-throated apology. I don't even think she used the words apologize, but she acknowledged. She acknowledged the situation. I wish she hadn't even done that, because she owes no explanation. She did nothing wrong. When a person on the outside is the most powerful woman politically speaking, maybe second only to Nancy Pelosi, because of Nancy Pelosi currently being in power. But when arguably the most powerful woman in politics inserts herself into the conversation, not once, not twice, but 3 times, to the detriment of the front runner and to the detriment of this country, boo her egocentric, megalomaniacal, narcissistic ass. And I actually like Hillary. All right, let me settle down. This next clip is a compilation of Joe Biden in a debate just this year, juxtaposed next to Donald Trump in debates. And the compilation was put together by my friend on Twitter at Walker Bragman. Walker Bragman on Twitter. Go check him out and give him a like and a retweet on this compilation. But I think it's critical because this is what I've been saying. I've been saying it. When Donald Trump locks in, Joe Biden does not stand a chance in a debate. Period. Take a listen in.
It's a mischaracterization of my position across the board. I did not praise racist. That is not true. Number one.
Yes, you did.
Totally false.
You wanted it, and you didn't get it because I was
it.
opposed to casino gambling before, during, and after. And I'm not going to be bought by anybody.
I promise, if I wanted it, I would have gotten it.
If you notice, I have more people supporting me in the black community that have announced for me because they know me. They know who I am. 3 former chairs of the Black Caucus. The only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate. A whole range of people.
No,
my point is...
That's not true. The other one is here.
I also happen to call him a lightweight, okay? And I have said that. So I would like to take that back. He's really not that much of a lightweight.
Let us be clear, Joe. In the United States of America, we are spending twice as much per capita on health care as the Canadians or any other major country on earth.
This is America.
Yeah, but Americans don't want to pay twice as much as other countries.
I keep hearing that he's the only one that can beat me, but he's getting beaten very, very badly. So where does this come from?
Play the radio. Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night. The phone. Make sure the kids hear words. A kid coming from a very poor school, a very poor background, will hear 4 million words fewer spoken by the time they get there.
Very nice words, but happens to be wrong.
Look, the next president of the United States can have to do 2 things. Defeat Donald Trump. That's number 1. And number 2, it's going to have to be able to go into states like Georgia and North Carolina and other places and get a Senate majority.
You're having a hard time tonight. The Trans-Pacific, if you look at the TPP, a total disaster.
Well, look, we're either going to make the policy or China's going to make the rules of the road.
I did not support the war in Iraq.
2002.
That is a mainstream media nonsense put out by her. Because she, frankly, I think the best person in her campaign is mainstream media. I have much better judgment than she does.
I should have never voted to give Bush the authority to go in and do what he said he was going to do.
I mean, so both in terms of delivery, mental faculties, as well as bad policy. Joe Biden is vulnerable. I know that was a long 2 minutes, but thank you for listening to the entire thing. Joe Biden is vulnerable in every way imaginable. Now, I have begun to second guess whether or not Donald Trump is as sharp as he used to be. I don't know the effects of 4 years of being in the White House and constantly being terrified of being exposed for being the biggest moron on the face of the planet. I know that has to have had some effect on his mental health, but Donald Trump doesn't have the bar is so historically low for Donald Trump that as long as he doesn't get on stage and shit himself, then he's going to be viewed as doing a good job. Number one. But then number two, the bar is not high for him. He can get out there and just sling mud. He can sling feces for that matter. But the problem is that Joe Biden will not have anything substantive that he can fall back on. He's going to have to sit there and explain his vote for Iraq. He's going to have to sit there and explain his support for TPP. And he's going to have to sit there and explain here's the other irony, right? He's going to have to explain his racist relationships with Strom Thurmond, right? His vote for the 94 crime bill. He's going to have to explain why he is not a racist to Donald Trump, who we all know is a racist. But because of how all of this is set up, Donald Trump will be able to call Joe Biden a racist, and Joe Biden is going to have to explain. And do you think that he has the mental capacity to actually engage in that rhetorical jujitsu? Do you think he's going to be able to sit there and handle it? No, it is going to be a political bloodbath. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Politically speaking, it's going to be what Negan did to Glenn on The Walking Dead. Just pounding, and bludgeoning. And Joe Biden is going to sit there and I won't mock his stutter, but his stutter is going to come into play and it's going to be a disaster. And yet you guys are propping up this guy who's whistling. All of you are whistling past the graveyard on this, man. You're looking at impending disaster and saying, oh, it's going to be fine. No, it's not. Joe Biden is not electable. Yeah. All right. Last but not least, well, actually, there's quite a bit more that's going to come after the closing music for patrons. Patrons, just a reminder, listen beyond. Don't stop once you hear the closing music. There's an additional 20 minutes of content, 20 to 25 minutes of content that I have put in for patrons only. If you want access to that content, go to patreon.com/the BPD show patreon.com/the BPD show. And of course, I gave the patrons that notification, that reminder, simply as a way of telling you who are not a patron that there's like 25 extra minutes of content that's available to you if you become a patron. I have no shame anymore. I have no shame. Absolutely none, because I've got the bills to pay for the show. The show has to be paid for, right? And I can't do it without you. So, shameless plug. Last but not least, just to give you a preview in the bonus show, I'm going to be talking about this John Kerry story. Overheard saying that if Joe Biden messes up, he's going to jump in and run. He's denied it, but he was overheard by NBC saying it. So, I'm also going to talk about Amy Klobuchar's interview it was disastrous. Her interview on Fox News, and where she was asked rather about her participation in convicting a black man who appears to be innocent. Right. We'll discuss that and a couple of other things that have happened over the weekend. We will discuss more politics, Bernie Sanders, et cetera, et cetera. But real quick, for all of you who are not patrons and for, you can't become a patron right now. John Kerry, former Secretary of State for Barack Obama, and also the Democratic nominee in 2004. Obviously, he lost, but he was overheard in a hotel in Iowa by NBC reporters saying that if if Joe Biden screws up, which it looks like he is, and Bernie Sanders becomes a front runner, then he's going to jump in the race. He's going to have to step down from the board of Bank of America, and he's going to have to use bundlers to raise some money really quick, but he's going to jump in. Obviously, he's jumping in to try to save the establishment. And this is what I want to say to everyone before I talk about it in depth in the bonus show, is that the establishment is flailing. They're sinking, and they're grabbing, they're throwing their hands around violently, trying to grab hold of something to survive. To survive Bernie Sanders, that is. And the fact of the matter is, so long as this revolution shows up and does what it has to do, there's nothing they can do to stop Bernie Sanders. All right, that's my music. I will see everyone tomorrow. And if you're a patron, I will talk to you in about 7 seconds or 20 seconds. See you next time.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.